sober, busy living sober, busy living sober. If you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Chance. I'm a certified recovery coach, health and wellness coach, and a life coach. And if you're back, welcome. And I'm so excited, you guys, to have on my show today, Dr. Immune Girl, also known as her real name, Donna Mazzola from Detroit, Michigan. Welcome, Donna. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I haven't actually recorded a podcast in a while, so I'm actually feeling revitalized, ready to go.
Great. Well, happy 2024. I'm so excited I get to kick off your year with me being on my show. So I'm going to first start off at the beginning because when I read your bio, it said that you went to pharmacy school. I'm going to say it, I said it incorrectly, probably pharmaceutical sale. Is that what you call it, school?
Pharmacy school, yeah.
Pharmacy school. And then you realized you're like, I need to simple things for people. I need to make things more simple for people. And then you started Dr. Immune Girl and you just published a book. You have your own line of vitamins. You are doing all this to help other women that are on this journey of confusion. I feel like we're all confused these days. Like, what are we doing? What are the doctor just put me on another medication, another medication, another medication. And I want you to tell our viewers and listeners why you got into this. So use your own, tell us how you got here and what made you decide to do what you're doing.
Yeah, so you're right. My bio says I went to pharmacy school, over 20 years ago. And when I got out of pharmacy school and I was in clinical practice, I found myself always going back to nutrition. Like medicine, and I don't want anyone to think like I'm anti-medicine because I'm not. That's not true. Medicine has a place in therapy, but we can't just go to medicine as like the end all be all, the only place, right, for healing. And that's where I found my struggle is I would have my patients and they'd come on a list of like 10 different meds, and I would open up a conversation about what are we eating? Are you exercising? How's your sleep? And it's like no one ever talked to them about any of that. I mean, I had diabetic patients that didn't know what a carbohydrate was. They would say, that's just like potatoes and rice, right? Fruit, I mean, nothing, there's no concept, zero of anything that was related to nutrition and how to manage their disease. And so that was very frustrating. And I knew the importance of nutrition as they related to a lot of our chronic illnesses like diabetes, heart disease, etc. But I didn't know the role of diet and lifestyle and autoimmunity. I didn't even know that existed, like that was a thing until I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And that's when I mean, I was like in shock. It was like I was hit by a million bricks, had no idea where to turn. All I had ever learned was you take this medicine and you're basically, for lack of better words, screwed. Your body's fighting itself and there's nothing you can do, and you're probably going to develop more autoimmune diseases down the line because of this. And so I started uncovering truths, right, about that. And I was like, okay, I need to do some research. And that's what took me down. Didn't know what to trust, didn't know what was real or what was gimmicky. So I decided to go back to school and get a master's in functional medicine and human nutrition, which complemented my degree in pharmacy very well. Because it's my mantra now is the balance between nutrition and medicine. That's the goal. That's what I want to get people to. I don't want them to feel like they're failures because they're on medicine, but also that they can only do that nutritional side and medicine is horrible, right? It's like, no, we can have both. Let's figure out the balance so that you feel your best self. And so through that journey, I'm like, you know what? I'm learning so much and great information. I need to share this with the world. So Dr. Autoimmune Girl was born, and I always talk about her in the third person. And I say, and so she started to share everything she was learning, and it blew up, right? And everything I share is scientific, it's reputable, it's not my opinion. I'll share my personal experiences because I think people connect with that, but never my opinion. I try not to be overly controversial. I'll pull out whatever literature I find, new data, new research, just put it out there, let people talk, right? Take this to your doctor. I'm empowering you with knowledge, so that you can also feel your best self. And so, yeah, that led to me writing actually a couple books, Immunity Food Fix, Immunity Food Fix Cookbook. Most recently, also a relaunch of my gut protocol in conjunction with Basana nutrition supplements. So we're at the very beginning phases of that, but it's been an exciting ride.
It's amazing because I will tell you, so when I gave birth to my oldest son in 1996, I'd
Mhm.
given birth to him in July. And I went to the doctor. My father, I hadn't seen my father in a long time, and he came in to meet his grandson. And he looks at me and he's like, Elizabeth, it looks like you just swallowed an entire watermelon. Like I was so bloated. And I
Yeah.
hadn't lost any of the baby weight. And, I was just walking around. I felt like lethargic. I didn't have
Yep.
energy or anything. So I go to the doctor. They take my blood. This is again 1996. And they said, you know what? You are not only are you a little bit hypothyroid, you're 100% hypothyroid. So I have been taking levothyroxine for now he is going to be 28 in July. 28
Wow.
years. And when
Yeah.
I tell my friends that I'm on thyroid medicine, I would say, and I'm 55. So a ton of I think I don't think there's any friends of mine that don't take medicine for their
Yeah.
thyroid. Everybody
Right.
does. And even my daughter, who's only 26, they said, oh, you need to go on as well, go on levothyroxine because your thyroid's messed up. She's 26. She didn't give birth to a baby that changed her whole DNA.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah. With the, I say like autoimmune disease, I think we talked about this a little earlier. There's an epidemic there, but thyroid disorder, and I would say probably like 90 to 95% of thyroid disorders are autoimmune related. And it's the number one autoimmune disease affecting women. Hormones play a big role, right? Whether you've had a baby or not, um, women are much more susceptible because of our hormones and the role that estrogen plays in autoimmunity. And so there's like different cycles of life. Like, so yes, you menstruate, you initiate that, there's hormonal changes there. You have a baby, there's hormonal changes there. Then you start going through perimenopause and menopause, hormonal. And so we kind of see like a rise within each era, if you will, of like a woman's body changing. But it's more than just hormones, because these hormonal changes have been around forever, right? Like people have always
Right.
had babies
Yeah.
and people have always menstruated or gone through menopause. And so you have to compound that with the whole environmental piece outside of this. So like, and starting simple with just our lifestyle, right? In the US, I mean, it's just, we sit all day, we stress about anything and everything. The stress is through the roof. Like people have to go on vacation to not stress, right? And then, so they're only not stressed for like 2 weeks out of the year. Otherwise, they're just running on, you know what I mean? Like they're burning the candle at both ends. We eat horrible. Our food, it's so difficult in the US to know what you're supposed to eat. Like they've made it so hard. Like people think something is healthy because of marketing gimmicks and schemes. It's like it's almost impossible. I feel bad for a lot of people, and I try to educate as much as I can, and even as much as I'm like, oh my gosh, like how can you get through to people and help them better understand like what they need to be reading on labels and things. Like it's just so difficult. So we're eating terribly, we don't move, we don't sleep. I mean, like 5 to 6 hours is now normal. People are binging Netflix till 2 a.m. and then they got to be up at 6 for work. All of that plays a huge role. And then like the toxicity in the environment that we're exposed to, it's just like a toxic overload, if you will. And your body can't, our body is not designed to take on all of this toxic world, right? It can do some, yes. Like our liver is designed, that's the whole point of it, right? It's kind of like breaking things down, getting rid of things, right? Like all of that. But then there's like a key to like, are we drinking enough water to eliminate these toxins? Are we constipated? Most women would argue they are. They're like, oh, I don't know how often I go. It's like, okay, you should be eliminating at least once a day. That's all toxins, right? And so all of that plays a role. Everything is it's just the world we live in, the world we live in, and we're seeing it rise more and more, autoimmunity and thyroid disease. They estimate about 1 out of 9 women has an autoimmune disease. That's crazy. And there are so many that like you kind of get like these elevated labs that are just kind of non-specific, but we know they're associated with autoimmunity, but can't really pinpoint what's going on. And so people suffer for years before they can get a true diagnosis. But I mean, we can overcome that with diet and lifestyle, right? But people don't realize that, and doctors don't know that. And so then people are left lost.
Well, I've been writing all these notes. So as you talk that I keep thinking about things. Well, for one, I can tell you when I was growing up, we had that food chart, which I think they still have in this column that you're supposed to eat these certain things,
Yeah.
but we have changed so much. I just saw again somewhere on social media or in a magazine pictures from the 1970s and I live in Florida, so people on the beach, and
Yeah.
no one on in these pic photos was obese, right? There was no one sitting there, just looking totally ill like they are today, right? You go to Disney World and it's like so sad how many people are in scooters and being pushed around in, wheelchairs. But it's very confusing right now with that, right? It's confusing. What am I supposed to eat? This is good, this is bad. These fad diets that go on. Oh, I'm going to go on keto. Oh, I'm not going to go on keto. I'm going to go on low fat. I'm going to drink Diet Coke because that's really going to be okay. It's better than having Coke. It's all it's confusion everywhere we look.
It
And
is.
then we say exercise. Now, I believe, for myself personally, I see that, where we are economy right now, where we're going, where we are financially. You mentioned getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. All these parents that are out there before mom could stay home and cook meals that were healthy. Today, you have to go and get these Oscar Mayer meals, which again, I understand if you need to have them every once in a while in a total mad rush, but who can make lunch for their kids today? They're exhausted. They're not making enough money barely to put food on their table. And then you want me to join the gym because where I live, it's negative 20 degrees out. And the thought of going for a walk is impossible. I mean, I feel like we're living in this world that is just like nobody can win. You can't
Yeah.
even afford to go to even Walmart and buy organic food and then go, okay, I'm going to buy organic food or am I going to buy milk and eggs?
Yeah. So that's such a complicated area you went to. So, um, what I say to that is it doesn't have to be as hard as we're making it. We need to just eat real food. So, what's typically anything in a package is not real food. If we just think of it that way as a blanket statement, obviously there's some that are much better than others and cleaner. But again, going back to mom used to cook in the 70s, we got to make a plan. So I tell people like Sundays, do you go to the grocery store without a menu for the week? I ask that question. Because if you do, you've already set yourself up for failure.
Hmm.
What are you buying? I mean, if there's no plan to what you're cooking, what are you buying? What are you there buying? So you end up throwing things out because you don't have a plan. You don't buy the right thing. So then you come up with an idea midweek and you're like, oh, I don't feel like going now to the grocery store. I'm not going to make that. We'll just order pizza. And so it's like you have to be very intentional about it. And so do you make lunches the night before? That probably be a lot better than when you're up in the morning and exhausted and you kids slept in and you're too tired and you just say go buy the nasty school lunches that they give that really have no nutrition. So there are little things we can do, but we really have to be intentional about it.
Hmm.
So to me, it's like doesn't have to be organic fruits and vegetables. Just do fruits and vegetables. Like start with real food. Don't worry about if it's organic or not. That great if it can be, but if it can't be, it's still better than stopping in the McDonald's drive-thru. Eating non-organic fruits and vegetables is still better than stopping in the McDonald's drive-thru. Like I had to say that twice because people have to realize that. Actually, last year I watched a documentary on the History Channel, and it was called "The Food That Built America." it's wonderful, I think. And it's not a lot about the food. I mean, it's a lot more like business concepts with it. But a lot of it was centered around that the war era where they had to start developing these more convenience foods and canned goods. And it's just like the excitement that arose from the TV dinners and, the spam. And it's just like the cheese whiz, like in a bottle, and all the different chocolates. I mean, it's like gives you the whole history of how it started and why it remained. It's like the soldiers came back from war and they were like, this stuff is great. And it just blew up and everybody wanted it. And then the mom started working. And so the mom started working and it was like, okay, let's have more convenience. Like she doesn't have time to cook. So frozen dinners are just as good as mom's cooking. And Lunchables makes it easy because I can just hand this to my kid. Well, sure, in the 70s and 80s, the way it was made was probably fine. Like the amount of chemicals that was put, it wasn't there. But where we're at today and with these convenience foods, it really has like that's what started like the shift in culture and how we eat. But now it's gotten to like honestly the point of like we lost control and it's scary where it's headed.
It's so scary. Like the pendulum has gone this far. Like, cause I remember growing up again, I was born in 1968. So my mom was like, oh, we can't, I don't even know how she knew that McDonald's was bad, but it was like, we never went there because she's like, oh, that's bad for you. I don't even know how she knew that. And I was talking to other friends and they're like, yeah, my mom felt like the same way. It's not good for you. We can't eat this. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts about the grocery store and how it's laid out? Because I just heard this recently, and I'd love to hear your expertise on this. But about when you go in the grocery store, like you really don't want to go to the inside, and how the outside perimeter is where you really want to mainly shop.
That is what it is. Like if you want the real foods in the grocery store, it's like you have all the refrigerators and freezers on the outside. You have all the fresh produce on the outside, the fresh meat, you have the butcher station, you have the fish, right? Like anything, the bakery, like where you could actually buy like fresh made bread versus the packaged bread. So like, yeah, all of that is around the outside of the grocery store. And then everything in the middle, it's like you have a whole aisle for chips. You have another whole aisle for cookies and crackers. You have another whole aisle for all canned foods that are like overloaded with sodium. So it's just, and that's where the majority of people are. They're on those aisles on the inside, and it's like you're just ignoring everything on the outside. If you just shopped on the outside and started there, you'd probably be in a better place. It's just kind of that's as a simple um like a simple approach to trying to make a change. Like, let me see what's on the outside perimeter. But honestly, my biggest advice to people is make a menu on Sunday for what you're going to eat throughout the week. Go shopping for those items, prep. So yes, your Sunday is going to like we don't do things on Sunday. Like Sundays, we don't make plans on a Sunday. I'm not taking you guys out. We're not Sunday, we're getting ready for the week. And if I can sacrifice, and it's not like it's the whole day, but it's like a couple hours of prepping and planning, it shakes your week in a whole different trajectory than when you don't plan.
I love that. I love the planning. Now, I wanted to, there's something that I think is so funny, and I would love to get your thoughts on this as well. I had a comedian on my show who's from Chicago. She's a mom, and she was talking about how this water. Now, I'm going to hold up a large water, and you have a large water next to you as well. So
Yeah.
if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening, you can vision what we're carrying around. Now, when I was growing up, no one drank water. It was not a thing. No one drank water. It was not like, oh, you have to go drink water. It was like, no, you have to have a glass of milk before you start your day. And with dinner, it was always like you had milk.
Yeah.
Today, everybody's talking about this water. And then I just heard somebody else say, I hate water. I think it was Tim Dale, the golfer. He said, I hate water. And I was like laughing so hard because I get it. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I have to put a lemon in my water to be completely honest so that I drink it all because I like it better that way. But what is that phenomenon that has come about that wasn't here before?
The water bottle. I know. It's like you think about when we were kids, like water bottle. Like I didn't even know where the drinking fountain was. Like you might have found the drinking fountain in school and you're like, oh, let me grab a sip. But like even gym class, all of that, like we still didn't drink water.
No. Or that you
So
would pay for it, that you would actually spend money. Like, can you imagine your mom going, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy you a case of plastic water that you're gonna carry around with you"? I don't think so.
right, I know. Which that's another topic, the plastic water bottles. But the water, so honestly, I would love to look back to try to figure out when this became a phenomenon, but it was like the water bottles. It started with the water bottles, right? And like everybody needed a water bottle. And so like now it's like we would laugh. Me and my friends, I'm like, my kid forgot her water bottle and I'm driving it up to the school. Like she's not gonna die if she doesn't have water today at school. But that's how we act. We're like, oh my gosh, forgot her water bottle. What's gonna happen? It's not a bad thing because it is important to be hydrated. Like water is one of those like simple low hanging fruit if you want to just be healthier and ensuring you're hydrated. So it's not a bad thing. It is comical though because it was more like sodas that were common, juice like Sunny Delight. Like think about Tang we used to make, right? Kool-Aid.
I see.
I see, like those are the things we drank, and it was normal. It was
Mhm.
very normal. And then, of course, like you said, the whole milk phenomenon that went on for a while, like you'd had to have milk before everything. So water was kind of, and I think as we've uncovered like sugary drinks are a problem, maybe we shouldn't be promoting juice, right? With food and childhood obesity is rising. I think there became more of a push and more of a narrative, like maybe we need to push water to be top of people's mind to drink as opposed to all these really high calorie, zero nutritious drinks, right? So here you have something that's 0 calorie, obviously, but it's hydrating and your body is majority water. So like we need water. So I think that's kind of where that shift came is that realization that we probably, sending the population in the wrong direction by suggesting these sugary drinks.
But it's so funny because we mentioned earlier, like nobody was really that, nobody was obese while they were drinking this stuff, though. It wasn't like we went to school with all these people that were obese back in, also when they were drinking these drinks. So there has to be, and I know you might not have the answer to this, and I'm totally aware
Yeah.
of that. But it's interesting, like, what are they putting? I would love to know what they're putting in our foods that is making us like this, because when we were growing up we had all these things and we weren't fat. Now we also had the ability to have gym every day.
Yeah, we had gym, you played outside. I mean, maybe we had a Nintendo, but it was like limit, you weren't stuck to it for 10 hours a day. You were running around all day. But honestly, like I said, it's like when Coke and Pepsi first came out, it was real cane sugar. So what we were exposed, what our soda was versus or juice versus what it is today is very different. So like there's like 90 different forms of sugar. Like you don't even know a label you're reading and the different types of sugar. High fructose corn syrup was kind of like, we talk about when that pendulum swings. That's just taking this highly inflammatory, horrible for you form of sugar, right? From corn. But it was so much cheaper for them to use that as opposed to real cane sugar that's what they started substituting all of our sugary drinks with. And I think that's where you saw the shift. Because yeah, we did eat these things. Like we went to Burger King and McDonald's when we were kids. It was like a treat.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not the same Burger King and McDonald's as it is today. And I just think also things take time. Like I said, we went as a treat. It was very different. It wasn't, there's people who go 3 times a day to a different drive-through, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's many families who dinner every day is a different fast food restaurant. So that's not how it was, I would say, back in the 80s and early 90s. And it was, okay, Friday night, I'm going to take you to McDonald's. We're going to eat there. There's the playscape. You guys get to play. You guys get the toy. And it's kind of like a reward for working hard this week. It was a very different mindset as to why we went to fast food versus now it's like the norm and the standard. And this is just how we eat. We eat fast food every day, multiple times a day.
And it's cost, you can pay for it. Like instead of going, like a meal costs you a lot less money if you want to feed everybody than it does if you want to actually go buy a chicken and bring it home and cook it in your oven and buy all the sides. I can't stand what our government's doing. And that's where I feel like we have to come together,
Yeah.
especially as the moms, And but
Right.
again, it's sometimes so cost prohibitive, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, it can be, but it can be if you're following, you know, an influencer or recipes that have like are just so complicated. And yes, they look beautiful on social media, but you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have all these ingredients and how am I gonna get it? It doesn't have to be that complicated. Like when I look at my gut protocol, the meals are simple. They take 25 minutes because that is all the time I have. So therefore, my assumption is that's all the time you have. Um, but they're good. My kids love them. They eat all of it. They're non-inflammatory. We don't use any sauces. Like I can make a whole balsamic vinaigrette with olive oil that'll last us 2 weeks with my own ingredients, and it's not costly. So yeah, it just depends. Like that can be an excuse. I understand I'm not being insensitive that people don't, financially times are hard, but there are ways, and it doesn't have to be the extreme. You don't have to be only organic fruits and vegetables. And if I can't eat organic, then I'm just gonna eat crap. It doesn't matter. That's not the way it has to be. Like you can get a whole, like we say, like there's a lot of local grocery store, like produce stores that you can fill up a whole cart with fresh fruits and vegetables for $60. $60. Not even exaggerating. It's not organic, but it is what it is. And you can clean and soak things and you can put them in vinegar and water solutions and you can get them where they need to be, but that's still better than what else you're exposed to, what the other foods that you're eating. And there's no nutrient density in any of the food that we're eating. And that's why we're all sick
And
because
I love this because I know when you look at labels, right? It can be you mentioned stress, right? Stress is so big today. I mean, when the stress that I've read in numerous articles that the stress we feel today is like what cavemen felt when like a tiger was coming to get them or a bear, right? And we live in that all day long.
Mhm.
People are picking up drugs and alcohol like nobody's business. More women since the pandemic, it's even worse there because this is so overwhelming. But I love that you've mentioned so many things. For one, going to your local, I know right down the street, there's this Bender's Farm Store. I mean, I have friends that'll come out and be like, I just bought all these groceries for nothing. If I had gone to, Publix or to Whole Foods, forget about it. I mean, I've got come out with three things. But here you just buy these local things and making things easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. I love that you said that.
It doesn't. I like so many of the meals in my gut protocol, the per protocol. It's like chicken breast, potatoes, broccolini, balanced meal. Took me 20 minutes. It's not hard, right? And like on Sundays, we'll prep vegetables. So I'll cut a whole thing of sweet potatoes, put them in the fridge. I'll clean all the right. And so everything is like I said, I'm not exaggerating when I say 20 minutes. That's how long it takes. Um, buying frozen bags of fish, easy. Like you just pop those in, you defrost them the day of, you can put them on the grill, you can put them in an air fryer even. I mean, easy meals, making sure you have the starch, making sure you have vegetables, add some color to your plate, have a salad daily. If you can just have a salad, small side salad daily with your dinner, like boost the number of colors and fruits and vegetables in your meals and tell me the energy that you feel as a result. Like anybody who's gone down that road, like that's usually their first thing, like, okay, I feel better. Because what people are feeling, that exhaustion and that it's the inflammation in the body. Like everybody's inflamed. Chronic inflammation is really at the root cause of the development of autoimmune disease. And we live in a chronic inflammatory state because of all the things we've just discussed, right? The foods, the toxins, the lack of sleep, the lack of exercise, the stress, all of that puts your body in an inflammatory state. And that's why we're seeing this epidemic and rise in all autoimmune diseases. I mean, like people I meet, parents at school or in the soccer team or wherever, and they find out what I'm doing. I swear at least one out of two are like, oh, well, I have lupus. Oh, really? I have RA. I mean, it's like I'm in shock. Like I just met a dad at basketball and I was telling him, yeah, I brought my computer and he's like, oh, what are you working on? I'm like, oh, well, I'm just putting out a blog. He's like, oh, for what? And then I tell him and he's like, oh, I have Hashimoto's and RA. And I'm like, what? Everybody I meet that I mention what I'm doing, the conversation generates like, oh, well, this is what I have. Here's my autoimmune disease. And I had no idea. I knew none of this. So yeah, it's almost becoming normalized, which is not good.
It's horrible. I mean, I was diagnosed just a couple years ago with psoriatic arthritis. And their answer was go take whatever these shots were that I had to take. And I tried it for, I want to say 3 months. And we bought these. I mean, it's so expensive, these injectables. I felt terrible. My stomach hurt. I felt, I'm like, I'm done with this. I am not doing this anymore. You know, now every morning I peel fresh ginger and fresh turmeric and I put a little bit of salt and pepper and then I just pour and lemon, warm water. I start my day with that. And, you know, a spiritual thing. I always go outside and look at the sun and I thank God for my day. And I love that you talked about Sundays because, you know, we've gotten away from the Sunday being the family day. And
Mhm.
I know that growing up, you know, I went to church every Sunday and I raised my kids that way. It was important to me. I'm not trying to shame anybody that if it's not important to you. But in your family, you talked about how that's part of your day. Do you guys integrate spirituality in your lives as well?
Yeah, so we don't necessarily, we're not overly religious by in any way. However, morals and these affirmations are big. Gratitude is really big, and we talk about that. We have a gratitude jar, so like
Oh,
something that you're grateful for that happened this week, and we'll put it in there. And at the end of the year, we read them all. And it's just so, yes, we do. And I think that that form of spiritual, I mean, whatever form it is that, you know, like you said, it's critical. It's important because it pulls things into perspective. It allows for appreciation, right? And recognizing what's truly important in life, you know, and like my daughter will get anxious about things and constantly have to pull things back into perspective. Like, does that really matter? What are the things that matter? Right? Like, let's be thankful to God that we're healthy. Like that started with even with COVID, right? It's like the realization that if you didn't have your health, you had nothing. Like that was almost like, here you are. Like, yeah, like this is the most important thing. It's not about how much money we make and the title we have and all of that stuff. It's all stuff and it's all material or the material things. Like you're not taking any of that with you when you leave this earth. None of that. So it's, you know, it's recognizing what are you grateful for? What can you do for other people? I mean, that's another one that in my home that really that's the purpose of life is helping others. It's not
wow.
right. It's like wherever you're at, then the next level is helping others. Like that's the whole purpose is what can you give back? What is your strength that you have that then you can give back to others to help them? And like my little one's learning a lot of this with Girl Scouts right now, you know, a lot of giving back and things. And so she's learning some of these like moral lessons. And yeah, it's critical. It's critical. And we've lost a lot of sight, you know, of that. And I think a lot of people are, you know, we're heading into these, sadly, we have almost like a mental health crisis as well, right? And it's just the way our lives are structured, the way we're living, and kind of that lack of gratitude and appreciation and recognizing purpose, the purpose of life and your own self purpose. Like, what is that? And have we defined it? I think we've lost all sense of that, and it's become sad.
But you're doing something to change it because right now politically, like I can't stand it. I mean, I growing up, I could talk to we had dinner parties, there'd be Democrats and Republicans. It didn't matter. And today we've been pulling each other. You brought up so many great things. And thank you so much because I believe this cell phone and this all AI and all imaginary stuff doesn't matter. It's like taking that one day a week that you take with your family and you guys take care of you as a unit. You, your husband, your two girls and you eat well, you exercise, you
Yeah,
sleep,
we do. It's
and
part of it.
you're helping others. So when it comes to helping others, Today I was just talking to somebody about the concierge doctor, that people are like all having thinking that they have to go to a concierge doctor today. And if you're out there and you don't know what that is, that's when you pay for somebody to be like, you can call your doctor anytime you want. You can get in. You don't have to go through all this red tape. But I think at that extent, you're still not promised to have something that's a little more balanced in terms of like, oh my gosh, they're going to talk to me about alternatives instead of having to go pick up that medication that costs $1 billion. I could actually eat something and drink something. That's where you come in. And so people can reach out to you and anytime. I'm going to have all of Donna's, how you can reach her on within the description. All you have to do is click her link and it'll take you right to her website and all of her social medias. But what do you tell people that are out there and they're like, well, I don't know if I can reach out to her because again, it's so expensive, but I want her to help me because I love her message. What do you tell them?
Um, you, it doesn't have to be expensive. So all the resources that I have from the books I've written, I mean, $30, right?
Yeah.
Each for each book. And you
Yeah.
think about how much people spend on their coffee a day. It just depends where you want to invest your money. Do you want to invest in your health and making that difference? And you can start slow. Yes, I have supplements that maybe are a little bit pricier, but it's however it fits you. Like if you can do it all, great, do it all. If you can't, you can just start by reading the posts on Instagram. You can start there and start educating yourself and getting that knowledge and determining then what are the next steps for you. You can listen to this and be like, you know what, I'm going to take away small goal. I'm going to try to sleep 8 hours a day. I'm not going to binge watch TV till midnight. I'm going to get in bed at 9 and I'm going to be asleep by 10 and I'm going to wake up at 6. That's a small goal that you can work on and you can do. It's like I was asked recently, what's your New Year's resolution? And I was like, well, I don't really do that, but I set goals. And over the past 5 years, I've set different goals and they were little goals like this. And then they've become part of my lifestyle. And so one year it was about sleep and tracking sleep. Okay, we're going to eat 12 to 15 fruits and vegetables a day. I'm going to try that. Or plants, I say, right? Whether it be seeds or whatever. How am I going to incorporate that? Okay, we're going to do that every day. Now that's stuck. I'm going to drink more tea. This year's goal was I'm going to drink more tea daily. I want to get the herbs from tea. Okay. So now I bought this cute little cup and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink tea 3 times and it's been working. I've been drinking my tea. So that will stick. It'll become a lifestyle habit that sticks. So people are like, well, how did you get where you got? This has been a, 5+ year journey of how I've gotten where I am today. And so you need to look at it as a marathon and not a sprint and make those small changes that you can make. When you start feeling better with the one change, then start the other. Is it then, okay, I'm going to make sure I walk 20 minutes a day. Start small. You don't have to go extreme. And a lot of the problem with social media is everything is extreme and everybody who's doing all the things look perfect. And it doesn't, that's not how you need to look at it. So set small goals, achieve those, celebrate those wins, achieve them, make them part of your lifestyle permanently and consistent. And once you're there, add a new goal. And it will take years, but you know what? Our time on this earth is finite. So invest the time, invest the money when you have it to make the changes so that you can feel your best self. And I promise you, you will. You will. If you do all the things right, you will feel better. And, essentially you'll just be happier. Like when you feel better, you're just happier. You feel better, you look better, your mood changes. It impacts how your relationships are with everybody around you, your family, your friends, right? It's all this vicious cycle, but it has to start with you. And so my advice is always be a little selfish, and that's okay because then you show up better for everybody else.
A happy mommy is what's important, right? And there was 2 things I wanted to say. For one, everybody looks out there and says that things are hard, but it's not like we're carrying pails of water up a mountain to feed our children, right? We're not carrying these things like people used to have to do. It's not that hard. And I did have somebody on my show that was diagnosed with MS, and she changed her entire diet and literally put it at bay. by literally eating. So it's more expensive to keep having to fix this, going to the doctor, going to
Yes.
all these things, instead of calling somebody like Donna and saying, oh my gosh, because in the end, it will be cheaper because you won't be paying all these things to get you better when all you had to
Right.
do was make some simple changes. They're not that hard, are they?
They're not. They're not. And it's not about this diet or that diet. It's not. It's simple. It's just eat real food, remove the inflammatory aspect. All comes down to inflammation, right? And so all these things that we mentioned cause inflammation in the body. And so removing those things, and like I said, one by one is fine. You don't have to do everything cold turkey and just, I'm going to be healthy. That's it. I'm going to cut everything. It doesn't work that way. That's where you set yourself up for failure.
Well,
So yeah,
it has been such a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you so much for coming on.
thank
It's been
you.
really amazing. You guys go check her out. Again, go to the description that's associated with this. You will get all of her links. All you have to do is click it. It will take you right there. It's not hard at all. And we all are on this journey together. We need more of we and less than of I's, because we need each other to get through this thing we call life. You're not alone, you guys. Remember that you are not alone, and reach out to me, subscribe to my channel, please. Go subscribe to Donna, the autoimmune girl. It's on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. And until next time, everybody, keep getting busy, living sober. Bye.